and welcome to Gentle Yoga. I'm Jeani, your host for the next hour. We're in the ACC's community room, and with our practice of a brief warm-up, some walking meditations, a balance pose, a cool down on the mat pose, and final Shavasana, we hope to get your body moving and maintain a certain degree of limberness. So that being said, we'll start at the back of the mat. Our class today, if you have your special props that you like to use to help meet the distance, whether you're in a fold or if you're using shoulder movements or trying to reach your toes, those are all great things to have. We're pretty much going through the same class. We are going to try to get some hip openers in with the help of a chair. So if you like that, go ahead and bring a chair nearby you as well. So standing at the back of the mat, as we arrive, we're meeting in our home base of mountain. Feet are right under our hip bones, and you don't have to change the quality of your breath. Just notice how you feel, how the mat feels under your feet. If you've been doing a lot of work in the garden, activity outside the home, you may have tenderness, soreness, achiness somewhere in the body. Just be mindful of that. Keeping a gentle bend to the knees is always helpful. And as we begin to arrive, we'll start with our breath. Let's place our left palm on our chest, right palm under the belly button. Begin to notice how the breath is moving through the nose and out of the nose. You may feel the heart beating. You may feel your breath as each breath cycle lengthens. We can begin to connect to our yogic breath simply by slowing down the inhale as well as the exhale. We'll finish cultivating that ocean breath, the yogic breath, with the sound of an ocean wave, a deep sigh, by opening the very space above the throat. So you have some sort of sound on both those inhales and exhales. Now, you may find the heart beating just a little slower and your breath cycles just a little longer than when we started. Connected to the yogic breath, let's go ahead and release our hands to the sides. Make yourself comfortable in your home base. With each return, we'll just get a little longer, a little taller and stronger. And let's begin by, with the next inhale, drawing energy from the feet, up the legs. Feel that traveling up the spine to the crown of the head and beyond. A brief pause, and then we can exhale slowly, feeling that reverse energy down the spine, down the legs, back into the earth. And with the next inhale, we'll start to tip our center of gravity towards the toes, so that at the top of the inhale, we'll feel a tipping sensation. Briefly pause, and then start to roll the center of gravity at the soles of the feet towards the heel. And on the bottom of the exhale, feeling that tipping action once more, that tipping feeling at the heels. use the next couple of breath cycles to explore the heel to toe alignment. Notice how it translates, how it travels through the rest of the body, while you keep the soles of the feet on the floor, just feeling that subtle shift in gravity. And then we'll meet back at center of our home base. Feel that center of gravity right above the ankles. Dropping back in, let's inhale to reset. And feel that uplifted feeling once more through to the crown of the head. So that all you have to do is exhale. Start to roll the soles of the feet towards the outer right edge. Fully exhaled here. We're going to inhale back to center. And then exhale to the other side for a 3-part breath. Or you could just use each inhale and each exhale for a 2-part breath to explore that horizontal mapping at the soles of the feet. You may notice some differences as you move along. You may feel any popping of the joints, any just noticeable change as you're discovering, as you're exploring. And then we'll return to center once more above the ankles. Drop into your mountain, reset once more, inhaling, feeling a little longer, feeling that energy up through the crown of the head. And then start to make small circles while you're still energized upwards. Small circles at the ankles, radiating outward towards the perimeter of your feet. It may take you a few breaths just to find that edge. But make sure you can feel the very edges, the entirety of your feet there. And then once that's established, you can start to tighten in the circles. We'll make our way back home to our mountain. Dropping back in, inhale once more, uplifted feeling, pressing down into the balls of the feet. And then start making small circles in the opposite direction, but once more at the ankles. Notice if you have any difference. Mine is a little choppier, not as smooth and circular, but you may not notice any difference. And once you find the edge, the perimeter of the soles of the feet once more, we'll start to make our way back to home base. Let ourselves meet back in mountain once more. And then we can go ahead and make any movements, release the heels, the toes, especially if you have a tendency to grip the mat. You can always reset the base of your mountain, do what you need, and then we'll return once more to our mountain, just a little longer in the legs. You can imagine internally rotating the thighs, pressing down on all points of the soles of the feet. And we'll just start to shift our weight from side to side. Not really lifting the heels, but just shifting that weight. And then as we find more of the weight, we might pivot out the toes just a little more. And just that simple pivoting out of the weight, you may find a shifting of the torso. Maybe a second or two delay from the hip down to the feet. But as we're gently introducing this momentum and a twisting primarily at the waist, you'll find more of the torso facing one side. And as you do so, lift the toes. Definitely keep your knees protected. And the arms should be nice and relaxed. By simply moving the torso, you might find some momentum in the arms. Don't forget to breathe. That nice controlled inhale and exhale. Help lubricate the joints that we're moving right now. And then we'll let that energy slow down. Let's return to center once more. Coming back to the home base, you can pivot in the toes, bring that heel to toe alignment, reset the mountain if you need. You can always Roll to the balls of the feet, come back down. And then we'll move on up to our shoulders. Now, at this point, I'd like to remind you, if you have a tendency to stick out the tailbone, if you have a forward tilt of the pelvic bowl, we want to try to bring that tailbone under, lift the shoulders up and back in so that we have more of a vertical alignment from the ear to the shoulders to the hips to the ankles. And you know, it may take a little while to get there. Do your best, but as we get to the shoulder rolls, I like to remind ourselves to do that at this point. Tuck under the tailbone, press into the legs, lengthen, and we'll begin. Palms facing forward. Inhale, shoulders come up towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll them back and down. Fully exhaled, engage the core. We'll have a total of 4 breath cycles, give or take 1. Well, we're just breathing that slow yogic breath, the inhales to help lift the shoulders, the exhales to help relax the shoulders back and down. After that last breath cycle, we're going to do another set. 4 breath cycles, and this time after we inhale them up, let's exhale, rolling them forward. And we're still on the exhale, tucking in the bottom of our triangular shoulder blades, down the back, into the mid-back. And notice if you're shifting at the soles of the feet. We want to keep that even distribution of weight, no rolling in or out of the arches. Alrighty, then let go of that last pose, that last warm-up, and we'll move on up to the throat. Feeling once more like this energy is lifting from the mat, from the feet, up the body to the crown of the head, a little string towards the ceiling. Totally inhaling at the top here. We're going to exhale. Let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. There's still space between the right earlobe and the right shoulder. As you inhale once more, sternum lifts. As you exhale, turn the gaze if you haven't already. Just let it stop where it will. The eyes will land where they will, nice and soft. We're using about 4 breath cycles here to see if we can release on the left side of our neck. The column of support of our shoulders all the way down to the heels. Nice and firm. Each yogic inhale draws energy. Perhaps you can scan the body for any achiness. And with each exhale, see if you can just relax. Maybe the eyes, maybe the face turns just a little more by the bottom of that exhale. Definitely engage the core throughout. And after your last exhale, we can inhale the eyes back into the gaze. The gaze will turn. The crown of the head lifts at the top of the inhale. So all we have to do is exhale over to the other side. Inhale for length. Exhale to turn the gaze. And give yourself about 4 breath cycles here as well to release on the right side of the neck. Make sure your shoulders are in line with one another. Hips are in line. Feet are in line. Even distribution of weight across this horizontal joint area, as well as the verticality of the shoulders down to the feet. All this to help you release through the right side of the neck. Each passing exhale engages this parasympathetic nervous system to help you release. If you have tightness in the right side of the neck, in the right side of the jaw, hopefully that exhale will help you to release it if you become aware of it. And after the last exhale, inhale the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head back to the top. And then you can exhale. Let the eyes float downward to the top of the mat, about 6 feet in front of you. Again, there's a space between the chin and the chest. We want that inhale to give us a lift with the crown of the head slightly tilted at that diagonal. And a deep inhale should hopefully have collarbones lifting at the top of the inhale, if not the rib cage expanding sideways at the inhale. The exhale should always end with a nice firm feeling of an engaged core. And after your last exhale, inhale the eyes back to the midline, past the midline, and once you can see somewhat above you, stop craning the neck. And we'll use the next 4 breath cycles here. See if you can release any tension that might be in the front of the throat, in the tongue, in the jaw, at the brow line, even the top of the scalp and ears. You can make small O openings with the mouth that it gets a little larger. You can explore the state of your lower jaw, gently swaying it left to right, maybe in a somewhat oval, elliptical circle in one direction and then the other. And just try to relax with each exhale. And when you're done, we'll just let the eyes float back on either the inhale or the exhale, back to the midline. And here, go ahead and just shake out any residual holding on from the muscles at that point. And we'll start our initial folds to begin our walking meditation. So if you need to use your blocks nearby so that you can walk your hands up or down if you need. If you have the chair in front of you, you can always use that as a placement as we fold. But at this point, we're going to stand in our mountain, inhaling deeply, reaching downward with the fingers and bringing the arms, extending them all the way up. And then as we exhale, start to bend, hinging at the hips. You can bend the knees if your legs are nice and tight. You just need that extra bit of release. And as you're hinging downwards, you can stick the tailbone back behind that original placement, vertical line of the legs. And you may need to walk the hands down. You might just be able to float the torso downward. But wherever the arms land, you just want them to be nice and relaxed eventually. You want to keep your feet still hips distance apart. And if you have an impingement, sometimes it helps to step into the balls of the feet to help open up the hips so that you can hinge properly at the hip line. But if you have a tight lower back, your fold might look more like a half lift, and that's okay. Just do what you can where you can. I like to bring my blocks nearby at this point. Just having done a lot of gardening work, I have a lot of lower back tightness that can just benefit from having the arms somewhat supported, either by blocks or maybe their forearms on your thighs. But all you're trying to do is keep that hips to heel support. The soles of the feet are nice and evenly distributing the weight. We're in our first forward fold, which is called our ragdoll, because we're here for about 5 breath cycles. And eventually, you'll just have the upper torso maybe just kind of relaxed and dangling. Your eyes should be directly below you. And just feeling hopefully more and more of your lower back just releasing. And keeping that bend to the knees. If you find tightness in the back of the legs, that just helps. Notice at the very last of our breath cycles here, if you're holding on to the head, you can gently make a no motion with the head, yes motion, then just let it dangle like a plumb line, maybe in circles.
And eventually, as you deepen the fold, more and more the crown of the head should face towards the mat, and your gaze may travel to in between the ankles. And with the next inhale, we're going to start to come out of our deep fold here carefully by rolling up slowly, one vertebra at a time. Inhaling, engage the core, press into the feet, firm up the legs. You might even need to walk the hands up the legs, and you can drop the tailbone, excuse me, coming all the way back up, pressing the hips forward. And we'll just give ourselves a moment to let the blood rush back to our head before we start our second forward fold, a little shorter this time. But once more, reaching downward. Inhale, extend the arms up. At the top, you might even reach up. And then on the exhale, we engage the core. Bring that tailbone down and back. Bend the knees if you need. Float on down, or just come on down, however you need. Walk the hands down. Find yourself into your second fold for about 3 breath cycles here. You can always, as long as your hips to heel support is there, you can give yourself some maybe relief to the lower back by simply shifting hips side to side in a horizontal plane. You can bend one knee, lengthen that, bend the other knee. You can lift the toes and then bring them all the way back down to the mat. See if that helps you in your second iteration of the fold. And then we're going to inhale here. And once more, come on back to the top, engaged core. Either walk the hands up or come up with a straight back. But either way, we bring our hands into our prayer position, pressing in and lifting the arms up if you can, above the head or out at a tangent. And then exhaling, hands down, heart center. And we'll begin our walking meditation. Inhaling, standing weight to the left side of the body. Once you find that center established, we're going to lift the right heel. And if you can do that all within that first inhale, that's ideal. We're going to step it forward, step that right foot forward on the exhale. And once you have that established, you can always launch off of the back leg, back foot. We'll inhale that foot up and exhale that forward. You can do a heel to midfoot to toe transition, or you can just bring the midfoot down, ball of foot and toes. Do what you can in your walking meditation. It's a slow, 1 full breath cycle per step motion. And all we're looking for here is to keep the core engaged. You can press into the palms, into your blocks, if you need, to keep a reminder of your stability. But if you fall out, that's okay. If you want to challenge yourself, you can lift the knee higher. You can make the forward step wider, bigger. Or you could just shuffle your feet forward. Just do what you can. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in our mountain. Looking down at our fingertips or the blocks. Press into the palms. Inhale, arms up. Separate the palms at the top and exhale. Stick the tailbone back, bend the knees if you need, and float on down, walk on down, fold, fully exhaled into your third fold. And then we're going to inhale, lengthen through the legs and through the back to about this 90-degree angle at the hips. And it's okay if you just lengthen through the back and you have more of a 45-degree angle, that's okay. Holding it just a moment here and then exhale, fold once more. You might just bend the elbows. And then we're going to place our hands at either side of the feet and start stepping into our high plank. Bend the knees if you need. Hands on the mat or hands on the lower setting of your blocks. Maybe one step back, maybe several steps back. Let's inhale the hands over the shoulders over the wrists, and then exhale, let the shins down and come into our modified high plank. About 5 breath cycles. We're just going to feel this out. You're hopefully having a nice wide upper back, a feeling of the shoulder blades moving away from the spine as you press down into the palms. If that 90-degree angle at the wrists are kind of sensitive for you, you can always either move the hands forward a little bit so it's not quite as taxing on the wrists, or you can lift the knees and walk the feet back a little bit. Either way, just widening that angle at the wrist. Keep the fingers splayed, middle finger and index finger to the top of the mat, thumbs nice and flat in between. And if you're feeling too much weight in the heels, see if you can distribute the upper body weight throughout the palm, from the heel all the way to the fingertips, even that fleshy part between the knuckles of each finger. Throughout our high plank, the core is engaged. Keep a nice strong back. And you can feel the tops of the ankles or the tips of the toes, if that feels better to you, but try to get the tops of the ankles open and the shins and the ankles there supporting the lower body so that you have this this nice hypotenuse, the nice diagonal from the shins all the way to the crown of the head. And then you have an energy line from the shoulders down to the palms. And then with the next inhale, tuck the toes if they're not already, and lift the hips. Exhale, press into those extended arms so you can bring the hips back to your down dog. Widen the stance of your feet. If they're a little on the narrow side, they should be about hips distance apart. We're trying to achieve an upside down V, but you might have an upside down U, and that's okay. Heels can be lifted, but you can always roll to the balls of the feet and slowly extend through the legs. See if your heels can lower just a little more. We want to make sure that our arms are rotated such that if you were to bend at the elbows would bend back instead of out. You want to keep those shoulder ball joints rolled away from the ears. And it may take a while. It's our first down dog. It takes about 5 breath cycles. And you can play with your dog. You can feel a side stretch here with the hips moving at that lateral plane. You can bend one knee, then bend the other knee as you straighten the first knee. You can alternate walking your dog. You can reset once more by just simply bearing down at the hands and the feet as you feel that uplifted feeling at the tailbone. And all the while, the core is engaged. With the next inhale, we're going to grab a hold of our blocks if we're using them. We're going to roll our eyes towards our hands, bend the knees if you need to, and start to walk the hands to the back of the mat. To our fold, and you can always step back if you walked a little too far forward there with your down dog. But into our fold, we're fully exhaled here. And again, feel all points of the soles of the feet, rooted, planted on the mat. Inhale, half lift. See if you can lengthen through the legs and the back. Exhale, fold once more. And then we're going to roll up, or we're going to come up with a straight back. But either way, on an inhale, engaged core. Let's come on back up. Drop the hips, drop the tailbone if you need. Press all the way up. Arms above or at a tangent is fine. Exhaling hands down heart center. We're going to start our second walking meditation. Inhaling, standing away to the left side, lifting the right foot when we have that balance there. Stepping it forward, exhaling it down, and just mind your breath. One full step per breath cycle. See if you can hear the ocean at the back of the throat. And at the top of the mat, looking at the fingertips or the block tops, press into the palms, extend upwards, and separate on the end. Exhale, hinge the hips and fold. Fully exhaled into our fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold once more. Hands at either side of the feet. Step one foot and then the other. Maybe a few steps. Walk into your high plank, inhaling the shoulders over the wrists. And this time stay long in the legs, pressing into the palms, extending through the arms. Inhaling and exhaling 3 full breath cycles. Core engaged. Internally rotating the thighs. Feeling the points from the shoulders down to the palms, heels down to the balls of the feet. Inhale, hips up. Exhale, press into your down dog. Hips go back. Maybe the heels make it down to the mat. Maybe just a little lower than before. Take the next 3 breath cycles to explore your down dog, or just to sit and enjoy it. Head should be somewhere in between the upper arms. And the tail reaching for the ceiling while the limbs are moving downward. One more inhale. One more exhale. Engage the core at the bottom of the exhale. Take your blocks. Inhale, roll the eyes to the hands and walk the hands to the back of the mat. To your fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees if you need. Tuck the tailbone under and come on up, your choice. Engaged core. Inhaling all the way back up to our mountain. Lifting. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And one last walking meditation. Pressing into the palms. Standing weight. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale it down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale that down. And again, you can always challenge yourself by keeping that brief suspension of the lifted foot up in the air for a little bit longer, or making that step just a little bit wider. Focus, though, on keeping your stability and the breath. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in our mountain, looking at the fingertips. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, separate the palms and fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step the feet back. High plank. Inhaling, shoulders over the wrists. 3 more breath cycles here. Nice and strong. Inhale. Walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Torso drops, elbows bend. Inhale, press into the feet. And come on up, engaged core, reaching all the way up. Exhaling hands, down heart center, and finally down to our side. Okay, and now we'll either get a drink if you feel parched. Keep yourself upright for just another moment or two. We're going to come into a balance pose, and we'll meet in our square foot. What we're going to do here, you may need a strap if that helps you to lift your foot up. You could use a block if you'd like to just step the foot onto the block, but we're going to lift the, starting with, let's have our right leg, our standing leg, since we started with the left standing leg, but we'll inhale, standing weight to our right side of the body this time. Once you have that balance there, start to lift the left heel. If you're just working on balancing, keeping from falling over, just stay where you are. But if you can lift that left foot, the left heel, the entire foot, and we're going to bring the knee up higher as you're able to. But really here is the balance more than it is lifting the knee up. And you might need to grab a hold with the strap or with your hands, either the thigh, or if you can tuck that knee into your chest, if you can reach under the ball of the foot. And we're just standing for about 3 to 5 breath cycles. You might just be hovering the foot above. That's okay. Just do what you can to maintain that stability on the one side. And then we can bring that foot down, bring the heel down, and bring balance to both sides of the body. Reset your mountain, do what you need to do. Oftentimes we're still holding on to activated muscles, so you might need to just roll at the ankle of that standing leg. You might need to just tap out that knee. You can, if you can find that balance on the other leg, kick out, kick to the side a little bit, get a little adduction, maybe even extension to that hip. Just depends on how much tension you're holding. Do what you need, and always before you cross that midline. You want to move forward and to the side before you cross that midline. Alrighty. And then we'll meet back in our mountain once more. We'll move on up to the other side. You can also roll to the tips of the feet. Do what feels good to reset your mountain. Inhaling, standing weight now to the left side of the body. We're going to start feeling that lifting of the right heel. If you're just working on that, stay there. If you can, lift the ball of the foot. Go for it. Hover. If you can bring the knee a little higher, go for it. If you need the strap, if you need a block under there to just tap down onto, do what you can. You might hold onto the thigh. You might be able to hug in that knee a little higher. You might be able to reach down and grab the ball of the foot. But whatever you're doing, you're trying to maintain the balance before challenging yourself any further. Maintain that balance. Do what you can where you can. It's about 3 to 5 breath cycles. And engaging the core helps you maintain your balance. And then on that last exhale, you can bring the foot down, bring the heel down, and regain the balance between. See how we're doing with time. Go ahead and release, do any counter stretching, counter movements that help you release on that left side this time. Hopefully you feel it all the way from the top of your glute down your quads. Do what feels good to you to release. And then we're going to make our way into a staff position, which is essentially just sitting on your sits bone down on the mat or in the chair with legs extended out in front of you. If you have a difficult time sitting upright on the floor, you might need a block underneath you. But I'm just going to demonstrate with the first demo here with the chair. Just bring that phone. So, and as always, whether you're using the side of the chair or the front, the side of the seat or the front of the seat, we just want our sits bones right at the edge there. And as you're sitting down in staff, if you're on the floor, you're just going to make sure your pelvic bowl is tilted forward so that you can sit up with a straight back, and then we start to extend the legs out. And you can keep your feet flexed if you're in the chair. And you can flex and point the toes just to kind of get some of the back of your legs nice and loose. And then relax them. And then the next thing we'll do is bend whichever knee you'd like. I'm going to start with my left one, but start to bend that knee. You may need to lean back a little bit, but what we're trying to do is bring the sole of that foot closer to our groin. So if you're in the chair, you can use a block. If you can only make it here, use the block. But eventually, we're trying to bring the knee closer to our chest while still maintaining an upright position in our pelvic bowl, like that. If we have to lean back to get there, that's fine, but eventually come on up with the spine. We don't want to lean back and stay curved at the lower back in this pose. We're just trying to get this a little bit longer. So as we're doing this, you might be here in the chair or at that stage on the floor, but eventually you're getting more of the heel towards the groin, and you're sitting upright, tall, gentle tuck of the chin. Once you get to your sweet spot, breathe 3 to 5 breath cycles. You may notice with each passing exhale that something releases, maybe in the left hip, maybe in that bottom leg that's on the mat, on the floor. You may need to adjust. You might be able to draw your folded leg closer to the chest. Just a soft gaze out into the distance somewhere so that you can focus on breathing, keeping the knee lifted towards the ceiling eventually. And then with an exhale, we can release that knee, shin, and let that leg long. And give yourself once more any tapping, any counter movement, maybe external rotation, pointing of the toes, flexing of the feet. If you're using the block while you're in the seat, move it to the other side. And now we'll move to the other leg in our staff position. Sitting up nice and tall once more. See if you can keep that 90-degree angle at your hips. And we'll go ahead and start to bring a bend to the other knee and draw that closer to the chest. And eventually, bringing the sole of the foot closer to the groin, more of the heel to that groin area. And once you've found that sweet spot, we're going to breathe again, 3 to 5 good, deep, long breath cycles. Your arms are relaxed, the shoulders are relaxed, the abs are slightly engaged to keep you upright. And hopefully your hamstrings, the backs of the legs, all the way down to the heels are just nice and relaxed, melting into the mat. If you're down on the mat, or just lengthening, not really engaging too much if you're in the chair. And hopefully that allows release in the hips. You may adjust by drawing that knee closer, that shin closer to the chest. And then we can release after that last exhale. Start to walk that foot back down to meet the other. Extend through both legs and counter stretch once more. Again, I like to point and flex the feet, point the toes, flex the feet. You can roll at your ankles in one direction, other direction, maybe in alternate directions. Tapping out the knees always feels nice. And then we'll go ahead and meet with, let's see, if you're in staff, we're going to bend that other knee, not the one you just bent, but the other knee. We're going to bring that closer to the groin as we did before. And as it's close up there, then you're going to slowly let it start to drop outward. And see, you might need to lower the foot, but see if you can bring that ankle over to the thigh. If you can't, you may need to lower the leg and bring it over the shin. But eventually, especially if you're in this chair position, we're just going to try a sort of like a figure four. And again, if you have to curve the lower back, that's fine. But once you get that knee up on the leg, wherever it is, see if you can lift up through the chest and lengthen. You'll be pitching the torso forward. And eventually you may find a figure four shape to the lower limbs. We're opening our hip here. And if your knee is high up, you can place a block underneath it. You can, just wait with each breath to kind of feel that opening there at the hip. You can lower the position of your ankle further down that leg. See what works for you. But the key is to keep an upright chest best that you can. And breathing 3 to 5 breath cycles once you've found your sweet spot. Imagine your attention just feeling that open hip. The inhale has a uplifting feeling, but it's also just drawing attention to that hip opener. With every exhale, you may feel that knee just dropping down closer to the mat, to the floor. And just relaxing into that. If it's comfortable for you, you can make small circles with your folded legs, ankle. That might actually help your left hip to relax a little more. You can also touch those areas as well. Sometimes the touch will help you to kind of help your body to release. And after that last exhale, we're going to lean back and gently internally rotate as we lower the ankle down the leg and eventually off the leg. So you may need to lift that knee just slightly to help lift it off that leg. And then extend it. You might be feeling fragile, so move slowly and do what feels good again. You may need to tap out that knee. You may point the toes, flex the feet, roll the ankles. And then we're going to move to the other side one last time before we move into final Shavasana. Let's go ahead, bring that knee back up as far as you can, and then start to let that knee drop outward, bringing a hold, grabbing a hold of your shin perhaps, or the ankle, and just give yourself that first position. See if you can start to bring up the ankle, breathing slowly as you go. And eventually you may find your figure four on the other side. And at the end, we still want to keep our torso upright as best as possible. You may need to shift the position of your ankle, lower down the knee of that long leg. You may just need a little time and the help of gravity to help open up. Your knee can be highly lifted. Just gently place your hand there. Touch your hip that's opening right now. Do what feels good. Once you find your sweet spot, breathing 3 to 5 breath cycles there. As you slow down the breath, as you focus more on the exhales, being slow and long, you may find parts of the body just releasing. Maybe it's in the hip, maybe it's in the back of the leg, maybe it's in the knee. And the heat of your palm is always a nice welcome to the body. And after that last exhale, we can come out by gently shifting back, inhaling to bring the knee up as we lower the foot down and off of that leg. And again, you can tap out the knees. You can do what feels good. I'm in the chair, a deep bend, 90-90 bend, maybe even lifting the chest slightly as you bring the hands to your side or behind your hips. You can do gentle windshield wipes from side to side with those bent knees. You can go very deeply if you need. Just do what you can to release. And then we'll meet on our back. Get yourself ready for your final pose. It's we've got a lot of time. We've got about 5 minutes here, so make yourself comfortable. You might need a rolled blanket under the small of your back. If you have compression at the lower lumbar, this feels really nice. You might need blocks under there, under your knees, maybe a folded blanket under your neck. I'm going to be sitting upright to mind the time, but in your final Shavasana pose on your back, legs can be together and then just let the feet fall apart. Or your legs might be more wide, maybe wider, more towards the corners of the mat. But either way, just give yourself some time here to get into your favorite long pose. Arms at the side, extended, palms up, usually feels really nice. If you're cold, you can always put a blanket on you. And when you hear the 3 bells, we will awaken.
Bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, within the room, and finally back to your breath. Notice how the air enters the nose and how it exits the nose. And then make any movements that helps you to reconnect to the body vessel. You can wiggle your fingers, toes. You can rock your body. We'll meet in an upright seated position of your choice, cross-legged or in hero pose, staff pose. Anything to keep your spine upright, torso upright above your pelvis just once more. And we'll end with our breath of fire. We're moving up to 30 breaths this time, and I will try to keep time with my hands. And in our breath of fire, we're typically using the bellowing action of our belly to press out through pursed lips. And you don't really have to worry about the inhales. They kind of happen automatically. So we'll start with a nice tall inhale through the nose, and then exhale now. Fully exhaled. Feel that lift of the pelvic bowl. Chin tuck and hold the breath for about 3 to 4 seconds. And then release. Let the breath be natural, and we'll do that one more time. Inhaling nice and tall. Begin. Fully exhaled here. Lift the pelvic bowl. Chin tuck. And then release the breath. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us for the ACC Gentle Yoga at Noon. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.